Good afternoon. It's a beautiful Saturday. To those that are watching this from Kungu, Chira, Najera, Chiwatule, Najera 2, I should go down Sunset Apartments and all. Onalia. Well, if you're coming to the city center, I wish you luck. But the best advice I can give you for now, if it's not urgent, it can wait. If it's urgent, jump on a bike. The traffic is horrendous. Well, today we're talking about something really remarkable. We're not talking about traffic jam, but because we have KCCA, that's why I had to first go that way. Now, Kampala is on a positive trajectory to fulfilling its vision of a vibrant, attractive, sustainable city. KCCA, National Water and their partners have made a great strides towards improving the water, health and waste management and the sanitation situation in Kampala. Now, assessment of the sanitation situation in 2019 indicated that safety managed sanitation was about 60%, up from 54% in 2015. But despite the tremendous efforts, Kampala is still challenged with high use of unlined pit latrines, that is at 39%, and a high percentage of population, that is 50%, still relying on shared toilet facilities. Now, poor levels of hygiene and hand washing in households, schools, health centers, and public facilities are still remarkably happening. Now, open defecation is at 1%. And that is an aspect of the concern in some of the low-income areas. Now, to bring us this conversation today with a question that is the current trend of financing for the Kampala city sufficient to improve the water hygiene and sanitation, plus governance challenges in informal settlements of Kampala city? To bring this conversation home, we have Honorable Namazi Oliver K, who happens to be the Minister of Public Health and Environment in KCCA, and Ms. Helen Kasuja, the Deputy Executive Director, CIDI. I am Andrew Chamagero, and this conversation is live on Facebook and YouTube and TV Uganda. You can join this conversation. Good afternoon, ladies.
Good afternoon.
It feels good to be in the presence of KCCA, technocrats and politicians. For starters, let's look at what is happening. I will start with you, Honorable.
Yes.
What comments do you have in light of financing sorting Kampala's water and hygiene problems?
I think first and foremost, good afternoon, viewers, especially those ones that are viewing in from Ntinda, Nago, Chambogo, Banda. Yes. Good afternoon to you all. Thank you for tuning in. First of all, I think it is WASH is a very, very big challenge for us in Kampala Capital City Authority. And I believe before we dissect this question that you have given me today, it is made up of two aspects. One of them is the financing bit of it, then another one is the problems. So I think before we go to financing, we need to first understand the problems that the people in informal settlements are grappling with. Being a politician and campaigning in most of these informal settlements, I've realized that the biggest problem that the residents in these places are suffering with is garbage. The residents are grappling with a lot of garbage in the community. You find that Kampala having a population of 2.5 during the day and 1.5 in the night, it produces over 2,000 tons of garbage per day. And with this, KCCA is about to KCCA and the concessionaires collect about like 57%. So you find all that garbage is in the informal settlements. So people are grappling a lot with garbage. Number two, they are grappling with sanitation facilities. You've clearly highlighted it that there's still a problem of open defecation.
Oh,
Some
yes.
people are using buckets, they are using
Buveras.
buveras, and it's really, really unfortunate. Landlords are not ready to produce toilets for their tenants, and I mean, it's a mess, and that is bringing about those water-related diseases.
Isn't that the mandate of KCCA, that it should keep these people in check?
It is.
Why would you be a landlord and you're paying a ground rent and all that, and yet you don't have, lavatories?
It's the mandate of KCCA. That is why KCCA came in and made the 2020 ordinance, fecal sludge and sewage management ordinance.
Yes.
So that ordinance is going to help to keep in check those landlords that are not providing toilets for their tenants.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
So apart from that, people are still grappling with access to clean water. In these informal settlements, people are still using wells, they are still using springs, and you find that most of this water is not safe for human consumption. So WASH is still a very, very big problem. and we need support in all
I really want
aspects.
to commend KCCA and National Water and Storage Corporation. I think 2 weeks ago you went down to the informal settlements as well as markets, and you highlighted the issue of water.
Yes.
There were, should I call them cartels,
Yes.
who were overcharging water in the
Yes,
informal settlements
yes,
and in the
yes,
markets.
yes,
And you've
yes.
addressed this issue by coming up with a strategy with the National Water and Storage Corporation
Yes.
to see how best water is affordable.
Yes.
How can we strike this for, you know, pit latrines? I was in Katanga yesterday just to bring this conversation to realization of what is happening.
Yes.
The garbage in Katanga, that entire channel, I saw KCCA guys, you know, desilting the channel.
Yes.
And today morning I passed by to see if it was taken. So they desilted and it's still there up to now. All this management, how best are we going to go around it? From the political point of view.
From the political point of view. First of all, there's a very, very big challenge of KCCA. Can you imagine that for the last 10 years, KCCA has not bought a truck of garbage?
10 years.
10 years. KCCA has not bought a truck of garbage.
Has it been requisiting for one?
Yes, and that is the problem. I think we are not prioritizing solid waste enough. But the good thing is that when the Lord Mayor, with this new amendment, the Lord Mayor has an executive, and we have used the powers of budgeting to make sure that at least we budget for 10 more trucks of garbage that are going to be in this running budget. So I think when we get enough garbage trucks, because I mean, Chamagero, you've been on the road and you've seen those trucks that KCCA has. They are very, very dilapidated.
Oh,
so
yes.
it is important for us to have new garbage trucks, and we put that in the budget. And I think very soon we shall be able to deal with that problem. However, even I believe as politicians, we have those steps. Our work is to be eyes on and then hands off. So when we see such issues, we should have whistleblowers on ground who are able to tell us so that we can keep these people who implement these matters in check.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, coming to you, Helen, from the technical point of view, do you think the new KCCA strategic plan, as it was stipulated, will it contribute to making Kampala city more vibrant, attractive and a resilient city, having in mind the sanitation and public health challenges, especially in informal settlements?
Yes, Andrew. The new strategic plan is a new kid on the block. It's a new kid on the block in that it's feeding into the National Development Plan 3. And we are yet to see the financing. When you look at the strategic plan in its entirety, it's a good plan. It's an amazing plan, because you have aspects that have been raised by key stakeholders over a period of time that are being addressed in this new strategic plan. It's a beautiful document. But like we say, we wait until the rubber meets the road.
Oh, yeah.
And the rubber meets the road when the financing comes. Because if you look at the past strategic plan, it was a very good plan. Not to the level of this one, of course.
Yes. Paper-wise, it was
yes,
good.
this is a better plan. But even the last one that we had, we only were able to deliver 30% of that strategic plan.
Oh, yeah.
And it speaks to a number of things.
Well done.
If you look at the staffing levels, for instance, of KCCA, they are 30%. So you don't get surprised that the strategic plan is also delivered up to 30%.
Oh, yeah.
So financing is the biggest challenge for the city. And yet the city is the heartbeat of Kampala. So yes, the new strategic plan can deliver, but it will only deliver if it's financed.
With the financing. When you look at there was a word attractive.
Yes.
When you pass around the Parliamentary Avenue, it's very attractive. I could actually walk through the night along the road without any question. When you go to the Lugogo bypass, you're driving at, I don't know how fast you can go because it's a dark spot. And the ones where they had installed streetlights, they were vandalized. What is KCCA doing about the vandalism? Are we coming up with different strategies? Are we coming up with different poles? What could be the problem? Is it us, the citizens?
Yes.
Is it the mindset of the citizens? Inclusion question?
Yes, we want the city to work for everyone. But I think as citizens of this country, as much as we are pushing for our rights, we have responsibilities. It does not make sense for KCCA to put infrastructure in place and it's vandalized by people. So we have a responsibility, each one of us. In other cities, penalties are prohibitive if they get you, you know, breaking the law. So I think one of the challenges that we've been having within the city and the country at large is that we have policies, we have frameworks, regulatory frameworks that are not being enforced. The Honorable was talking about the fecal sludge management ordinance. But before that, we've had the Public Health Act since 1962.
Has it been functional?
Okay, since 1962, it has been around. And in that act, no one is supposed to put up a structure of any sort without a toilet. Bare minimum.
Oh, yes.
But where do we go wrong? Enforcement. Okay? Enforcement, because voters don't want to be touched because they are voters. Politicians cannot dare touch the voters.
Minister, have you
So
ever seen
it's,
what
yes,
she's saying?
And
do you
this
realize
is the
that
reality.
most buildings start to crop up now in this year? The buildings are cropping up in areas where they say we are an electro block. So they build buildings, and people in the markets and the likes, they come up like that. What she's saying, you as a politician, do politicians take right of this and they sabotage the bigger picture of the real city we need?
Well, I wouldn't want to think so. However, like they say that the fish starts rotting from the head.
And you
So-
sit in the executive. Tell me, my dear.
Not basically the executive. Now I'm speaking now as a national leader.
Okay.
Because you find that KCCA is trying to implement something, KCCA is trying to do something, but then the head of state comes up and says, please,
Stop
you
that.
stop this. You're
Yes.
spoiling my votes.
Yes.
I think there's an example of what happened when Jennifer Msisi was trying to regulate trade order, and
Oh,
then
yes.
the big man came up and said, please stop, don't waste my
I
votes.
even saw the market's question.
Yes, so all those matters, it's not really us, the politicians here at KCCA, but it all starts from the top.
From the top.
We put the proper legislation in place and all that, but because systems are not being respected, you'll find that happening.
Coming back to you, Helen, the limited financing of the institution and the reduced donor funding in 2020 to 2021 budget, how has this affected the executions you had envisaged earlier on?
I think the city has largely grappled with financing. If you look at the trend in the past 3 or 4 years, 2017, I think the whole city was allocated about 470 billion. 2018-19, another 400. Then we had 500 billion, and then last year we got about 324 billion for the city. And if you look at the allocation, you can do the numbers. If you can look at the per capita allocation, even just for the, for people who stay in Kampala, the 1.5 that stays in Kampala, it cannot deliver services. And if you go in depth into how much is allocated from government, it's limited. If you look at water and environment, I think for the last so many years, government contribution has been about 100 million, right?
Wow.
So we have a bulk of the money coming from donors and the other amount coming from non-tax revenue. And when we talk about non-tax revenue, there we are going to have a challenge, especially in this year of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Because, people are not paying licenses.
Oh, yes.
So KCCA is not going to get the resources. So we need to find innovative ways of financing water and sanitation, and largely the budget of the city. We need to bring, other enablers like the private sector. We need to ride on the goodwill of the community. Right now, I think the executive director of KCCA today was launching a cleanup exercise, a new wave of cleanup exercise in Kampala in commemoration of, I think, World Toilet Day, and it's happening in Bukoto.
Yeah.
So we need to bank on community goodwill. There's what they call sweat equity, where communities or individuals provide their labor for free to contribute. In the last, I think during Engineer Chitaka's reign, you had people giving land for free. I mean, that goodwill has to come from the communities. So the communities can also contribute, but they will only contribute if they see value for money that is already being invested. So we need to address issues of how do we get these resources. It's a shame that much of water and sanitation of Kampala is being funded by donors. I mean, it's like you have a wife and you can't dress them.
Come on.
If you can't dress them, don't
You shouldn't marry.
No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't in the first place.
You come from the school of thought you should take the matching Sawagabo approach they give out, because they gave out land to make that entire road, and it was quite a big chunk of land though. And if we bring that equity on board, will it change the bigger picture we're seeing today?
I think if we bring a number of actors, a number of stakeholders on board, and we have kind of a think tank for Kampala, we need to have a think tank where we have the private sector active. CIDI is busy doing work around about their business. What are they doing in terms of ensuring that the city that we live in is habitable? You can't do business when people don't have toilets.
That's why my second question. With organizations like CIDI, are they only business inclined without the bigger vision of Kampala? Do we have CIDI plug into the bigger vision of the city we want to see that is resilient, that is attractive, that is very vibrant, or they just go around their business and they never plug into this? Because ideally what they're doing should be adding a brick to the bigger picture of the city. Do you engage them?
I think what we need to do within the new strategic plan is to coordinate more with actors like CIDI, actors like CIDI, other NGOs, so that we have a coordinated effort. We have a lot of industries in Kampala. You saw how we are doing the carnival, okay? The goodwill from the business community.
That would be my very last question. Carry on.
With the business community,
yes.
How do we tap into that? We've had, NSS, we've had MTN supporting schools, washing schools in Kampala.
Oh, yes.
So we can, we can go out and have a full blast, approach that really brings so many or different stakeholders to be able to finance. I'll mention that, for instance, Kampala has a sanitation strategy that is supposed to run up to 2030. You know that we commit to the SDGs, and by 2030 the expectation is that no one defecates in the open. Okay? And we are 10 years to go, right? That strategy is worth about $271 million. That would be $1 trillion.
Oh yes, Ugandan shillings.
Yes, but if we are investing 15 billion for water and environment annually in the city between 15 and 20, how many years do we need to hit the 1 trillion mark?
I know.
Okay, so it's a dire situation that we are dealing with, and if we all want Kampala to be good for us, okay, then we need to put our heads together to ensure that the financing of Kampala's water and sanitation is not just left to government, because government will not be able to do that. Yes.
Well, I love where Helen comes from,
Yeah.
but she has alluded to something that brings me to you. Do you think we lack inclusion as the big organizations in Kampala? Do we lack inclusion to tap into the big framework of KCCA, whereby CIDI, and with CIDI we only see them speak when the prices are either going up or when the goods have been stopped to enter the country? Do we lack that inclusion where we know that we're part and parcel of the city, where we're going to be called and they say, on this day, we are going to have this conversation as residents and business people of Kampala to dissect about the plan. How far are we? What are we doing? What's your call to action as citizens?
Before I come to that question, I want to also briefly react on the issue of financing on my side as a politician. Well, I think the donors are helping us, but you'll find that almost 70% of the WASH budget in KCCA is financed by donors. And I think it is not right for the central government to come up and leave this issue to only donors. They must take up responsibility, especially for Kampala. Because of the people that live here, the business that are here, government must come up and take responsibility, because you find that Kampala contributes almost 60% to the total GDP of this nation. And the budget that we are getting is like 1% of
so where
the
does
total.
the rest of the money go?
I mean, we cannot get only 1%, because Kampala is not like any other city outside there. It is the capital city of the nation. So I will say this on every platform that I go to. The central government needs to come up. The Parliament needs to support KCCA, because it looks like we are not being heard, to make sure that KCCA is given more money, is given enough money, especially to facilitate. There's no reason as to why people should be defecating on ground today.
In 2020?
In 2020. So government should really come up strongly and facilitate the capital city, just like we need equity, just like the much it is contributing to the total GDP. That is what it should be getting in return. But you find we are getting only just 1%. So we are advocating for at least 4% of the total budget of the country. That will help us a lot. Coming to the question of inclusion. Well, previously we've been having issues, especially on the political side and also the technical side. We've not been having harmony.
It's the
But
first
now,
time I'm on a show and I have someone from the technical wing and someone from the political wing. What a remarkable 2020. Carry on, Honorable.
I think Helen will have something to say about that in the near
Later,
future.
yes.
However, I think because we've been having those issues, you find that as that political team is trying to engage the traders and other people, and they have done some things, now even the technical team is pulling them the other side. So at the end of the day, they are in the middle there. They are torn between a rock and a hard place. But looking at this strategic plan, I see one of the foundations is making sure that we have harmony between the political and technical side. And then also I'm looking at the technical team is looking at consultations and also of all stakeholders. So in the city, we have those casitas, we have the traders, we have people in the markets. Yes. And even before this strategic plan was come up with, there were different consultations that were done on social media, on radios, indoor consultations, and many others. So I believe that moving forward in these next 5 years, we shall be able to achieve much more. Even with the new executive director and Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago, who is coming in office again, I think we shall achieve more as a team.
Wow, that is from the political bit. Now, still about this, what role do development partners, you alluded to the development partners, the donors, and we appreciate them. What role do they play, like CIDI, in ensuring that wash services in the city are of quality,
yes,
accessible and affordable for citizens, especially those in informal settlements?
Andrew, I will just speak a little about that, and then I'll take it back to Helen, because she's the person who's from CIDI. So when our donors come on board, first of all, financing. They finance. Sometimes they finance the legal framework. They finance from step 1 up to the last step. So recently, I think last week on the World Toilet Day, we were with CIDI and we were celebrating the World Toilet Day. We were celebrating it with the community. We were sensitizing them. We were telling them a lot about WASH, and I felt that was good. And then also, just yesterday, I was with Engineers Without Borders, and we were receiving some equipments for hand washing, and they gave us those things without giving them any money, and they're just doing it out of corporate social responsibility. So these donors are really, you can imagine they are financing almost 70% of our total WASH budget. So they are doing a lot. They are helping us to checks and balances. Because sometimes you find that it is the CSOs that are coming up to say, no, KCCA, you can't do this, you can't do this. They are joining us, the politicians, to voice ourselves. They are acting as whistleblowers, and many other things that they're doing. I want to push it back to Helen to say some more about that.
Helen, you from the Community Integrated Development Initiatives as the Deputy Executive Director, explain to us what role do they play, especially making sure that there is quality, accessibility, and affordable wash services for citizens, especially in the informal settlements?
Well, I think without the donor community, I don't know what would happen in Kampala in terms of water and sanitation. I don't know what would be happening, because the donor community and civil society and other actors in that line, actors that want to make sure that services are for everyone, no matter their level of income, no matter their level of education, no matter where they stay. Whether they stay in Waisi, whether they stay in Mulimira, wherever they stay, we want to make sure that people access services and these services are affordable. So one of the things that we do is to create platforms like these ones, where we have, we highlight the challenges that we have as a sector or as a city, and then we also bring on board somebody who is listening in. They have resources. They want to invest in the city. They can direct their resources in the city. The statistics that you have been in that you've given that are very deplorable. They can entice somebody to invest in the city. So we work with the city in terms of policy, in terms of informing policy, the policy framework. We also work with government and the city at large in terms of the standards. If you look at the standards, for instance, the latrines that are being proposed within the city, these latrines, these standards have been built by, have been developed in consultation with so many stakeholders, including development partners. So the other aspect, of course, we bring in the money to support especially people who live in the forgotten ones, the ones who live in the informal settlements, because their situation is not a nice place to be. Yes, so that is what we normally do, and that space can only be utilized. The donors can only do so much until government puts the policy framework in place. So once the government puts the enabling, what we call the enabling environment, I have friends who really hate that word. The enabling environment in terms of policy framework, in terms of allowing, space, then it works. Then the other aspect, there's something that Honorable talked about. One of the game changers, in my opinion, in this new strategic plan is citizens' engagement. Wow.
That's the way to go.
If it happens, and it happens in a meaningful way, I can tell you the city can change. There are men and women down there who live in Kampala, and they commit their lives to improve their environment. Their communities, yes. Okay? They do this work not because they are paid, not because they are politicians, but because they want to be in a clean and safe environment. Yeah. So if we can engage them, if we can ask the communities, do you really need a toilet, or you need a road? Okay? And the priorities of the communities are respected, then it will be a game changer.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you talk about community engagement, there is a young boy, he's called Dennis. He came to me 3 months ago. He's 12 years. He stays in Katanga. He says, Andrew, we have a problem in our area. I'm like, what are the problems? He says, we don't have toilets. The toilets we have, you have to pay 200 shillings. So we and other kids, we don't work quite enough, and our parents don't have so much to give us. So at times we find ourselves, having, open air defecation and all because of that. So I said, so what exactly do you want from me? And he said, you know very many people. Can you just talk to people and we just have toilets? Then I had to go to the community and talk to their chairperson. He said, we can make a rota. That family is cleaning. And these were strategies and approaches from a 12-year-old. So when she says that this is something we can do, maybe it is high time the politicians and the powers that be engage the communities to come on board. And coming to you, Honorable, do you think the new KCCA strategic plan will meet your expectations, especially if you are re-elected to represent your people in the Authority Council? That's re-election. I see you smiling.
Yes, I want to thank my electorates. Yes and no. Yes, it's a two-way traffic.
It's a juxtaposition, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, if it is implemented to the dot, you will find that the strategic plan is very good on paper. Oh my God, when you look at it, when you read through it,
Uganda is like so
serious targets. So I believe that if this strategic plan is implemented to the dot, it will be able to meet my expectations as a politician. Then secondly, I think if this strategic plan is financed to the dot, because this strategic plan is over 7 trillion. So KCCA is tasked to fundraise, to look for funds to be able to run this strategic plan that we have. Because just like you've said, the previous strategic plan, we implemented it to 30%.
You can imagine.
So this one, yes, this one we want to do much better. So me, I believe that as a politician, as an elected leader, what are my expectations from this strategic plan? Speaking to my voters want access to quality education, access to quality health facilities. They want good quality of life. They want social cohesion. They want security. They want their rights not to be trampled on. Rule of law. They want good governance and all those issues. So when I look at the strategic plan, I see it hinting on all those matters. And I believe that, and because this strategic plan has been developed from bottom to top, even the views of the people have been included there. So if it is implemented, unless it is not implemented, then it will not reach my expectations. But if it is implemented to that dot, I believe we shall see a change in the city. We shall have an attractive, a vibrant city as we move forward.
That is Honorable from the KCCA. That is Honorable Namazi Oliver K. And with me, we still have a technocrat, happens to be the Deputy Executive Director of CIDI, Miss Helen Kasuja. It's a conversation. You need to be plugged in on Twitter. Just follow this conversation, and we're live on Facebook and YouTube. We'll take a break for now. Improving the water hygiene in our city center, the sanitation issue, the hygiene. With me on site, I have the Honorable from KCCA. This happens to be one of those ones who are very much more trusted by the Lord Mayor. That is Honorable Namazi Oliver K, Minister of Public Health and Environment. And I have Miss Helen Kasuja, the Deputy Executive Director, CIDI in KCCA, and we're having this conversation about how best we can have a robust, vibrant city that is resilient in its nature, that you and I can be proud of. One thing that comes out is like we have a job to play, but while we are having this role to play, the call to action to the powers that be, it's what we're checking here. Coming back to you, Helen, how have you planned to work with KCCA to ensure that the KCCA strategic objectives for the next 5 years, that is 20 to 25, are achieved, especially for the wash sector?
Yes, as CIDI and as I know for all civil society, because it's a requirement by all donors that whatever you're doing fits into the policy framework, the plans of the country.
Yes.
So one of the things that we plan to do as CIDI is to make sure that the programs that we design aim at contributing the strategic plan of the city as it is set out by KCCA. So one of them is make sure that we resource mobilize. We are a community-led organization, and we are strong on community mobilization. We don't mobilize for politics, but we are very strong on community mobilization. So we continue. We have actually worked with KCCA very strongly in terms of mobilizing communities, but also most importantly, creating that behavior change awareness. Because, you know, some of the challenges that we have in the city really are self-inflicted. You're drinking from a plastic bottle and then you dump it through your car or whatever. So that ends up in a well somewhere. You didn't mention in the statistics that the wells of Kampala are all contaminated.
And people don't know.
90%. And the same challenge is going to Entebbe, because within the last water and environment performance report, Entebbe is now standing at 50% pollution of the water sources. So they are next to Kampala in terms of pollution. Next, you're going to find Wakiso. So the issues of indiscriminate disposal of garbage by people, regardless of whether they don't have spaces where to put them. In the first place, how do you act? What is your habits when you eat a banana? When you buy a pancake in a Kavera, what is your first instinct? Is it to throw it away? So we need a lot of behavior change communication within the city so that people can actually change the way they do things. Look at hand washing. COVID has been a blessing. I think if somebody took a survey in Uganda and the city at large, I think for the last years we have been grappling with the hand washing at about 24%. But I'm very sure during COVID it must have gone up to maybe 50 or more. But the challenge also is that where the hand washing facilities have been put in place, they have been vandalized. O&M is not in place, operation and maintenance. No one cares. I mean, the sustainability even of the investments that we make is an area that we really need to address if we are going to ensure that the strategic plan is realized. Because in year one, we shall be investing, and then year two, what we invested in year one is vandalized and it's not maintained. And therefore, by the end of the 5 years, we shall have nothing to show.
Very absurd there. Coming back to you, the political wing, that is KCCA. What strategies are in place to ensure that the wash needs of people in the informal sector are met?
Thank you, Andrew. I think first and foremost, our very first strategy on our side as politicians is, since one of our roles is formulating policies, is the policy framework. We are trying our level best to make sure that the policy framework for WASH is in place. Like I earlier on said, that we've already done the 2020 fecal sludge and sewage management ordinance. As I speak right now, we are in the process of reviewing the solid waste management ordinance of 2000. So I believe, first of all, if we put there the right policy framework, even our donors can work well. Even then, we can properly check. Ourselves and as an institution, also as people in the public, to be able to achieve these WASH objectives of ours. Secondly, we are looking at using a systems approach in WASH, because you realize that WASH is not a standalone. It's not a standalone. Oh, yeah. Yes, you find that even in a toilet, there's the standalone building, then there's the fecal sludge, there's the emptying it, then there's also the recycling bit of it. So you find that there's one system is feeding, one component is feeding into another, so that they can achieve a common goal. So as KCCA, we want to use that approach, the systems approach. Second, we want to use inclusiveness. We want to bring everybody on board, every stakeholder, the community leaders, the youth, the women, the men, the LC1 chairmen, our donors, government ministries, agencies, to bring everybody on board. I believe when we push for WASH, when we push for prioritizing WASH, when everybody is on board, that will help us a lot to achieve our WASH objectives. Also, we want to work with financial institutions to provide financial services for WASH that are affordable. You find that KCCA is already working with Post Bank and Housing Finance to provide WASH finance that is affordable. For example, if a landlord wants to empty their toilet, can they go and get a soft loan, which is that you find that these financial institutions are supporting women groups, they are supporting youth groups, but they are not coming up strongly to support the WASH programs and services. So as KCCA, we are pushing that, and we are requesting for different financial institutions to come on board and prioritize WASH and provide soft loans for these people that provide soft loans for the WASH services. Then also we want to bring supply chain improvement, to make sure that these WASH services and programs do not come to a standstill. The cesspool emptiers, are they in place? Is the garbage, if somebody wants to empty their toilet, is the service available? KCCA has put up a call center whereby if you need a cesspool emptier, you can easily call and get that. If somebody needs their garbage to be taken, is the owner of are the concessionaire people available? Is KCCA proactive to make sure that this garbage is taken up? So we want to bring that. We want to make sure that the procurement chain is not broken. Then we also want to bring demand generation. Demand generation, I mean that you find that sometimes when you give a cow hay, the cow may refuse to eat the hay, but if you put some salt on the hay, you find that the cow will eat. So can we also, we are looking at certifying WASH. Or can we bring affordable services for emptying? Can we bring service providers on board that can help?
I'm really trying I'm really trying to catch your pace when it gets to, whenever you mention the word emptying.
Yes.
Last week we had a conversation here with what they call sustainable architectural approaches in the new cities, where new technology, especially when it goes to waste management, we have it like the biodigest and all. And Honorable, you're talking about emptying.
Yes.
How long are we still going to have this? When is the political wing going to embrace the new approaches of technologies with regards to fecal management and waste management?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, Andrew, we are on the same page. For us as political people, we are eyes on and a hands off. I'll go back to the biggest challenge of Kampala capital city. We are underfunded.
So because you're underfunded, you're still using all
because those strategies are already in place. They are already strategies in place. But now you will find that we have a recycling plant in Dund, but it has not taken off because we need a lot of money, which money is not there. So even our engineers in KCC have come up with concepts, with proposals, with innovations to deal with this recycling. Even fecal sludge, some people are using it to do briquettes and many other things. But you find that we are constrained because of the finances. So I will say this again. Everybody that is in government, central government, parliament, prime minister, please, you need to give Kampala capital city funds equitably, just like it is contributing 70% to the total GDP. At least give it 4% of the total budget of the country. Then it will be able to run the services efficiently and effectively. But regardless, failure to do that, we are going to still grapple with garbage. We are going to grapple with poor wash services and many others.
Okay. Honorable, coming to you again, you've talked about having accessible and you used the word affordable sanitation facilities.
Yes.
What happened to the eco toilets? These were distributed, I saw a couple of them in Machinje division to be exact.
Yes.
And a few months later, we did a story here on NTV where people are using them as rentals. Did KCCA follow up on these projects? All that we're saying about, do we have a follow-up mechanism that these are not going to be, you know, turned around and used otherwise?
Actually, I will go back that for us we are hands-on and we are eyes-on and hands-off. We have also witnessed that, but I will also go back to what Helen was saying. Project sustainability is very, very important. So we as KCCA, we need to go back on the drawing board and make sure that we provide value for money for these activities. It does not stop on only handing over these projects that are given to us by donors. We are supposed, first, if not even only KCCA, but even the public is supposed to be sensitized. Civic awareness, to tell them that, okay, we are bringing this, but we are supposed to use it like this. So it is very, very important. Mindset change is very important. So even our donors should invest more money, even before we give those toilets, before we give those hand washing facilities. Like we've said, they have been vandalized. There's no, KCA is saying that now we can't come back and then maintain for you a hand washing facility in a market. But you find that still they are being vandalized because the market cannot take charge. So let us work on the mindset of our citizens, of our community. Let us invest money there, let us invest resources, and that will help us a lot. We shall do our projects and they'll be properly handled.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes you find that somebody is using it as a rental, but they don't know what it is supposed to be used for.
No, actually those ones I asked personally. I was very interested, and this was in before Chibuli. There is an informal settlement around there. Chibuli, around the Green Hill, and then you go in there. Their chairperson is called Tiger, and he said, one of Wabigalo around that area. All right, now coming back to you, Helen, what can be done to improve the face of the city, especially in informal settlements?
One, I think, one of the challenges of the city is the housing. The housing in the informal settlements needs to be rethought. And like earlier on, I talked about sweat kind of equity. If you look at countries, especially most of the world after the world wars, they had Marshall plans where they did investments and communities were part of these investments. So until we also address the issue of housing, the issue of physical planning within these informal settlements, because you know, somebody builds a house here, then next door somebody puts a latrine, and then the other one is putting a shower, then there's a restaurant, there's a barber. So we have a whole lot of things that we need to rethink as a country, but particularly as a city, in terms of changing the face of the informal settlements and the face of the city. So the city, we should not concentrate on Kampala Road, like you say.
Oh, yes.
The bulk of the work that needs to be done in the cities, in the informal settlements, and we have 72 of them in this Kampala of ours. 72
Yes,
yes, in this Kampala of ours. No, we have these pockets, and 60% of the people that live in Kampala live there. Oh, yes. That's their life. Okay, so we must make, if we are talking about inclusion, the city must work for those people. Wow. We must make sure that there's decent housing. We must make sure that people can access affordable, you know, improved sanitation, where somebody doesn't have something that looks like a toilet and they call it a toilet. Okay, it just looks like a toilet, but it's not a toilet. So we want to make sure that the city has safely managed sanitation, and they can actually access these services in a manner that does not break their arm and leg. Yes.
Well, financing Kampala's development programs has been curtailed with limited funds, as earlier on said. What is the strategy we're taking this time around, that we're going to call for more of this?
Yes, of course, one of the things that we have said is we need to be innovative as a city and players within the city, so that we use minimal resources to get the most output. We reach more people with minimal resources. That's also very important. Where somebody else may call for a meeting and they spend 100 million, you may find an actor may spend just 1 million. So utilize that actor. So we have to find ways, innovative ways of getting value for money and using minimal resources. Then, like we said, we need to bring actors. We need to bring the private sector on board. We need to find a way of coordinating with civil society. We need, most importantly, to make sure that Ugandans take personal responsibility, civic awareness. Civic awareness, where people, you know, I just wish the zeal that Ugandans commit on politics, they would commit on improving social services.
Wow.
It would be heaven. It would be heaven. Yes, I'm not talking about the politicians only, even the individuals. Like, you know, that civic responsibility to know that, you know, I have a right to have a safe environment, but I have a responsibility also to do well, to act in a manner that is responsible, but also at the same time demand from that person that is supposed to deliver this service to me. Yes.
As we're finalizing this conversation, Honorable,
Yes.
what are your parting shots? Or before you give us your parting shots, let's talk about what is our call to action as citizens from the political wing. Now, it's you we vote for, it's you we want to see in there, so you tell us what to do.
I think our first call to action as citizens is to, first of all, love the city. It's very, very important. You see, even when you have a wife at home, if you have a husband at home, if you have a child at home and you love your child, you'll make sure that your child is dressing well, your child has eaten, your child has gone to school, your child, when your child is school, when your child is sick, can get medical attention and all that. So I want to call upon the citizens of Kampala Capital City Authority, of Kampala Capital City, that as KCCA is coming up, we know there are very, very many challenges that, Andrew, people of Kampala are facing so many challenges.
Very much so.
They are facing, especially in the informal settlements. I cannot even imagine.
Transport, water, health.
Being there, we have not been able to provide the basic needs of the people. I think we have somehow let down the people of Kampala, which is very, very bad. Which we need to take upon seriously. The central government needs to prioritize the people of Kampala, even the taxes that they are paying. So when we are, as I am calling upon the citizens to come and take charge of their country, the citizens need to know that they are the taxpayer and they are the boss. They should not be treated like they are not the boss and the people they are giving the taxes to are the bosses.
There has to be a return to investment.
KCCA is not the boss. You are the boss. You the voter. You, the citizen of Kampala, you are the boss. So that is why it is your right to demand for access to good quality education. It is your right to demand for access to public health, good public health, to demand for access to clean water, to demand for access to good roads, to demand for accountability for your taxes. But even when those things are put in place, it does not mean that we should vandalize them. Let us treat them like something that we really, really want. So also I want to tell the people of Kampala that His Worship, the Lord Mayor Arias Lukwago, is improving steadily and also has very, very many plans for the city. So it would be very, very important for us to give him another term so that he can complete his...
Honourable Minister, when the Mayor comes back, that's going to be my very last question. My last question from me to you, Helen. How are we holding up with the carnival? Will it come back after COVID is gone, or it was something that came with Jane Famsese and it left?
I have no comment.
Politically, do we have the carnival back? Oh, because me, I'm a city dweller. This was something that would bring a lot of light. You'd be proud of your city.
Social cohesion.
There was social cohesion. My son would celebrate. It's like, okay, now this is, I felt for once in a while, I'm in Sao Paulo and we are having all of this kind of fun here.
Yes, the concept of the carnival was very good and we all welcomed it with open hands. But it was mishandled. We all loved it very much, but it was personalized. It looked like it was a Musisi thing, and everybody was somehow pushed out. And then, for the times I've been in council, we have asked for accountability for carnival funds. You know, the private sector comes up very strongly to support the carnival, but you find that we have never received any accountability. As the authority, we were asking, where is this accountability? Where is this accountability? But it has never come. So it was very bad that it was personalized. So moving forward, we are going to have a carnival, yes and no, depending on what. Like I've said, we have so many things in plan. In 2020, from 2021 to 2026, as we move with our strategic plan, once we are given a second term in office. And I want to call upon the private sector. Just like we were supporting the carnival, let us come up strongly and support and do corporate social responsibility, because that is how we are going. That is how they are going to give back to the community. People are supporting MTN, they are eating Blue Band, they are eating bread. So we need to give back to the citizens. It's not only this, because most of our donor partners are from abroad. They are international. So it is important. Let us also get local donors. Let it not only be CIDI and these other few. Let us get you corporate companies. Please come on board. Support. I know others are trying to come on building some toilets and doing this, but please come and help us a lot. We still need a lot to support, especially WASH. The good thing about WASH is that it's a low-hanging fruit. So it is easy for many donors to come on board, and even when you write proposals. So it is also up to us as KCCA to make sure that we invest a lot in research, invest a lot in writing proposals, throwing them out, to bring as many donors on board as we can.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, Helen, what could be your parting shots to the viewers and to the citizens of the Metropolitan?
One, I don't know how much I can re-echo the fact that the citizens of the Metropolitan need to be responsible by doing what they're supposed to do. Acting in a manner that is responsible. Don't litter rubbish. Wash your hands. Keep safe. COVID is real. And also make sure that you know, when investments are made in your community, when facilities are put in your community, take responsibility over them, but also hold your leaders accountable. The politicians that are looking for votes, make WASH a voting issue. Yes. And then for government, we must invest in the city. We must invest in the city. We must invest in Kampala. Actually, I was very surprised that people are clamoring for cities elsewhere. I said I wish they knew the struggles the city of Kampala is going through. So before we even harmonize and strengthen Kampala, we have massacre already on board, Ginger. And we wouldn't want what is happening in the city to be replicated elsewhere. So let's invest in Kampala so that Kampala can be our cash cow that is healthy and, you know, the quality of life of residents of Kampala is good. Okay.
Well, thank you so much. That is Miss Helen Kasuja, the Deputy Executive Director, CIDI, and we had Honorable Namazi Olive K, who happens to be the Minister of Public Health and Environment. These are my takeaways from this conversation. One, we all have a duty as citizens to demand for our rights, and it's our duty still to ask for accountability, but being a part of the big picture, the strategic framework, it's part of us. We need to do that. Then two, if you're one of those who wants to, you know, just have your water drilled in your area, please just know that our water is not safe. So stick to the National Water and Sewage Corporation if you're around Kampala and Wakiso to be exact, and you could have a lot more diseases. So to avoid it, just stay on the national grid current we're having. It would be far better. But thanks so much to all our development partners who have made this conversation possible. We have the DGF, we have a CIDI, that is the Community Initiative Development Initiative, Community Integrated Development Initiatives. Then we have the Danish People's Aid and KCCA. I want to thank you, and you, the great citizen who has been watching this show from wherever you are, and those who have been practicing the hand washing from the different layers. I want to thank you. If you're watching this and you're in the informal settlements, I want to challenge you to come forward and you share your opinions with KCCA on their different platforms. They have a portal where you can go and report what you've seen in your area. They have a website and they have numbers, people who call you back just to know that you get the right feedback. But that said, use your local leaders. Make sure your local leaders are very much more accountable. I'm Andrew Chamagero. Have a lovely afternoon.